Hi guys, Anna Rose Bain here, and this is my daughter Cecilia.
Hi.
And she is almost 7 years old, and today she's posing with her friend Tigress, and they're going to pose with their books. We're going to focus on really short 20-minute paintings today. Sometimes that's all we have as parents or caretakers, and sometimes that's all kids have in them too. So Cece has been practicing, and I think she's going to do really well today. So let's see how this goes.
I'm 6.5 and Tigress is 4.
Oh, okay. All right, for our first little 20-minute painting, I'm just going to be working with 2 different colors, simply white and transparent oxide brown. I think it helps a lot if we can just narrow it down to really simple, just focusing on values, and that way I can spend my time, these short little 20 minutes that I have, working only on my drawing and my values and not worrying about color. All right, Cecilia, let's lower the book just a little bit so I can see your face. Rest it in your lap for me. There you go. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have you actually looking up a little bit more. Bring your chin up just a hair. And why don't you look down at Tigress's book and see what she's reading. Sit back in your pillow. Yeah, there you go. Good. Actually, look at me. I like that. I'll have you looking at me for this one, okay? You could say, okay, Mama. All right, here we go. Time's a-wasting. So, I'm going to just start by grabbing a little bit of Gamsol on my brush and thinning down some of that transparent oxide brown. And I'm going to just start by finding some of the darkest darks that I'm seeing right away. And I'm noticing that at the hair where it frames her face. And I can start blocking in the shape of her face really quickly that way. And then if I grab some white and mix that in, test out a section, a little bit more white, I can start really quickly blocking in a very basic skin tone. Sometimes the key to painting something quickly and effectively is just to keep your mixtures as simple as possible, which is why we're starting with a monochromatic study today. And I think that's going to help us a lot with figuring out priorities in the painting. And eventually, once we get into color, more color, it's going to help me understand how much time I have to work with her and what I'm going to be able to mix in that time. So right now, I am learning from this. And Cecilia, you're already doing a fantastic job. Good job. She's become a pro at this, although the price for bribery is getting steeper and steeper every single time. I'm just using a number 5 bristle brush. It's one of my favorite Robert Simmons Signet brushes, and these are great for painting quickly and really loading the paint on, because you can just really get a lot of paint on these brushes, and then they spread around really nicely. They're not as good when it comes to fine-tuning details, but that's not what we're doing right now. We're just focusing on basic values and structures, and so now I'm diving into that eye socket, and I'm kind of relying on my instincts as far as where to place these shapes. But it's a lot better if you've painted children before to understand that their eyes tend to be just below the halfway point on the head. But I also have to keep in mind that her head is starting to tilt down just a little bit. And so that's going to give even more space at the top of her head. You're doing fine. Good job. You look a little angry at me though.
Sorry.
What did I do? What did I do? All right, she straightened up a little bit, so we're just going to tweak that pose ever so slightly here to adjust for that. Every model, whether they're a grown-up or a kid, has to settle into the pose, and that takes a little bit of time. So when you're starting the painting, you could be the world's fastest painter at blocking in, but even if you were, I'm not sure that would do you any favors, because each time the model has to sort of get adjusted to their position and settle in, and children are no exception. So, and now she's got the giggles. You always gotta work around that.
What is the tape doing on there?
The tape?
Yeah.
What tape?
On the back.
Oh, well, it's keeping my palette and my canvas in place. Keep looking at me, kiddo. I'm painting your eyes now. And I moved to a smaller brush. I moved to a rosemary round. It's one of these pure sables. I love these things. They're, as long as you keep them really clean and take good care of them, they can maintain a nice sharp point for many, many, many paintings. And so that's what I'm kind of relying on here to block in the darks in her eyes. Keeping in mind, I only have 20 minutes for this, so I want to try to really get to a level of finish over the whole thing that if I had to step away forever after this, it would still read as a finished product, even though we know 20 minutes is only going to get us so far, but we're going to do our best here to at least have it say something about her and something about the learning process of doing these quick studies.
And Tigress.
Yeah, I don't think Tigress is going to make it into this one, kiddo.
Aw, get her in.
Well, maybe the next one, okay? She's keeping you company right now, isn't she? Relax your face a little bit. You're kind of smushing into the pillow, kiddo. Yeah, just sit up for me and look at me. Good. That's much better. Less of a smush face. Yeah. Okay, I'm working on your eyes. So we're just going to have a nice relaxed expression. I'm trying to get the outer shape of her face. And it's going to help me if I can block in sort of the bottom of her nose here and maybe the corners of her lips, which, she has a sweet mouth, and it sort of, the corners line up with the inside of her iris and pupil there. And I can already see that I've made her face just a little bit too big. With children, we have to remember that their jaw lines are not fully developed yet. Their skulls are not fully developed there, especially at the jaw. So it's important to keep that rather shallow. And that is going to affect how old they look in our painting. So I don't want her to look 35. Definitely don't want her to look that old yet. She's youthful and only 7, almost 7. So I'm going to just shave down that jawline just a hair. And then keeping in mind that that chin is casting a shadow, I'll go in there with some white to shape the neck. Doing great, Cecilia.
Can I take a break and look?
Not yet. After the 20 minutes, you can look. This is such an important job, and you are doing a great job.
It's Tigress, because she's holding very still.
Yeah, I think she's doing a better job because she hasn't moved at all.
Yep, she's very good at holding still.
We'll get there, won't we? You're going to be like a statue. All right, I'm pulling from some of my white here. And I want to squint and be really careful to make sure that the whites of her eyes don't stand out too much because they need to be in the proper value family, the value range that we're looking for. And this is where working in monochrome is so helpful because I'm not worried about the blue of her eyes. I'm not worried about the red of her lips or any of those details. I have just value and drawing that I'm working with here. And if white is my lightest light, which it is, then I want to find those lightest lights on her and place them appropriately. I also want to make sure that I'm not going overboard with all those highlights because then the viewer will not know where to look. So keeping in mind that not every highlight is equal. When I squint down though, because of where the light is on her, her face is very much all within the same value range. So we're talking very, very subtle differences. So when I go back for our next painting, I'm probably going to change up the light so that I get a little bit more drama on her. Because when it comes to value, subtlety is what takes time. And we only have 20 minutes to do this, so I've got to make sure that I'm really nailing those values. Do you know what I mean by values, Cecilia?
No.
How light or how dark something is?
How light and how dark something is?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's a word I use all the time when I'm teaching, and sometimes I take for granted that maybe not everybody understands what that means, but values are really what show us what's light, what's dark, and everything in between. Keep holding still, keep looking at me. Doing great. I think this is such a great exercise to do these little 20-minute studies over and over and over again and just really hone in on getting a strong start. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have a good start because if you don't, you're going to be fighting with your painting the whole time and it's going to be just a cause for great frustration.
I can't believe that Tigress is as still as a statue.
She sure is. Can you try to be as still as a statue? Yeah. This kid, I have been painting her since she was 1 week old. You don't remember that, do you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. You used to take long naps when you were a baby, and that's when I would set up my easel and paint. And it makes me so excited when I see other parents doing the same thing now and taking on the challenge of painting their children because there's nothing more challenging and rewarding. And what great memories we make from doing this. And it's also a great time we get to spend together, isn't it?
It's very hard to hold still. And Tigress is she seems like the best person who can hold still in the house.
Keep looking at me. I'm working on your eyes. So now I'm going to go in and find some of those little details in the eyelids. I need to keep squinting though because if I go too light with the upper lid, for example, that can make her look like she's falling asleep. Becomes heavy, and if it's the correct value, she should hopefully have the right expression.
Yeah.
Keep looking at me. Turn your face towards me just a little bit. There you go. Good job. And I need to remember to keep squinting because these subtle values require just really honing in on where the form is, where it turns away, down and away, or towards us. And I'm only going to see that really well if I'm squinting at her. Otherwise, I can easily get lost in all of the details. Keep looking at me. Turn your face this way just a little bit.
Real quick, if you are enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe. And if you'd like access to my mommy's entire library of full-length art videos, then check out MFA Dog Studio.
Not dog.
It's like the Netflix for art. And for just $30 a month, you can watch everything on the site. Use the link below to sign up today.
Doing great. Go back into your eyes and find there's a little crease. I can use just the sharp tip of my brush to get that crease in the eyelid and get those eyebrows back. I'm going to be really subtle with children's eyebrows because they tend to be lighter in value than in adults, and just a much more subtle bone structure as well. So it's not going to be protruding out like an adult's eyebrows would be. Are you excited to see it?
Yeah, I hope Tigress is in there.
Well, she won't be. But I've got to fix your nose. I made your nose too long.
Can I see?
Not yet.
Definitely.
Not yet. I'm moving. Actually, I'm going to move the whole nose and mouth up. Can you believe this? We're doing this in a 20-minute painting, and I've got to move two different...
I want to see how long the nose is.
Oh, well, I already wiped it out. Keep looking at me. I've got to repaint your nose real quick here. That's better.
Did you make a mistake?
I sure did. But now I'm fixing it. Oh boy, you love it when your mom messes up, don't you?
It's so funny when you have a huge nose. Like a snowman.
Like a snowman? Well, it wasn't that bad. So far I've got 3 brushes I've been working with. 2 of them are rosemary sables and they're rounds. One is slightly bigger, one is a little bit smaller, and then I've also got my bristle brush. And I'm just going to try to stick to these 3 brushes because we're running out of time. Keep looking at me, keep holding real still. Such an important job. You don't need to smile though, you can just relax. Smile is way too hard to hold for 20 minutes. Although I have had a model do that for me before at the Portrait Society conference one year, and it was incredible. She held a smile for 3 hours. I don't know how she did it. Not with her teeth. It was, a smile just with her, like a closed mouth smile, but that's still really hard to do. Look at me. I'm working on your mouth. Should we do a little smile? It's all about the corners of the mouth. When you're working on that expression, you can tweak it within seconds just by moving the corners of the mouth. Now her mouth, when I look at it, when I squint at it, her lips are a little slightly darker in value, so I can emphasize that by darkening there. And I also want to make sure that I'm catching that cast shadow below her lower lips. And that will give it, the mouth, some pop, and it will also give it some 3-dimensionality and kind of that feeling of just a little bit of poutiness that she has sometimes, even when she's smiling. And it's so cute.
Tigress is cute. The cute little eyes.
Uh-huh. Coming back in, darkening a little bit more, squinting down. See what I missed? There's this beautiful shape that wraps around her eye socket here, and I wouldn't call it a shadow, it's more of a plane change. Oh, well now I'm going to have to add 5 more. I'm just kidding. I don't know. We'll find out when the timer goes off. You're doing a great job. Didn't hear a peep out of Tigress.
What?
Didn't hear a peep out of Tigress. Yeah.
I know. It's because it's because I've been touching her. That's why she keeps peeping.
Oh. Oh, the giggles.
He's funny.
All right. Well, I think that's been about 20 minutes. So you can take a break. Good job.
Wasn't Tiger silly?
I think you were silly.
When you said peep, that was silly. That doesn't look like me.
Well, you try painting you in 20 minutes. Should we try again?
Maybe you can try finishing it.
Okay, maybe later. I think we should start another one.